Hey YouTube, Coppersan here. The Destiny update has shaken things up, empowering a lot of classes that were pretty mediocre in the past. Today we're gonna go over 5 classes that I think make excellent early game bossing mules up to normal Lotus and normal Damien. I picked these classes because of a combination of their kit, base stats and how many nodes they need. So for example, you won't see a Night Lord in this video, even though they are amazing bosses, they just take a bit more nodes and a bit more time to really come online. Or heroes who, despite their high base final damage, do miss out on other stats like critical rate and IED, requiring a bit more legion and link skills to reach their full potential. Just keep in mind though that any class is viable and play whichever class you want. For this video I picked a class from every job branch, so 1 warrior, 1 archer, 1 pirate, etc, etc. In this video I'll also be talking a lot about ignore defense, which is a stat needed to deal enough damage to boss monsters. Boss monsters have incredibly high amounts of defense, which causes Maples with low IED or ignore defense to deal a lot less damage, or worst case just deal 1 damage if you don't have enough, so that's why that's so important. So these stats are the core of your bossing wheel, but you know what else is core? Today's video sponsor, Core and Primal World. Core is a metaverse where you can create your own avatar using their special avatar creator. Once you get the look you're going for, you can jump right into any of the 50,000 games created by their community using Core. Core offers many different styles of gameplay like shooters, RPGs, platformers, survival and more. And if there is nothing to your liking, you can just create your own game. Boom, problem solved. But this time we're jumping into a game called Primal World. This multiplayer RPG has you battle monsters, find loot from hidden treasure boxes and keeps you busy with a ton of quests and puzzles to solve, all while playing with your own avatar that can be used across any of the games on Core. In Primal World you can hop in with friends, that way you can grind together to find the best gear. If you want to beat up some baddies with friends, check out Primal World on Core. You can play the game by downloading Core for free. Use the links in the video description and pinned comment. So let's start things off with the best class right away. For the warriors representative for the early game bossing mules, I present you Paladin. I never doubted so much on making this choice though. Paladins, Dark Knights, Dawn Warriors and Demon Slayers were my 4 top picks for warriors, but despite being absolutely amazing, Dawn Warriors are ping reliant and lack safety, so they fell off. Demon Slayers have no need for crit on all of their skills, their debuff lowers defense as well, but it does feel like they still lack some stats, so in the end the decision was between Dark Knights and Paladins. Both classes actually have pretty similar stats. With their more offensive, low cooldown attacking skills, I think that early on Dark Knights probably outdamaged the Paladin, but the Paladin has way more safety and tools which are more beneficial for early game bosses in my opinion. The Paladin's additional tankiness in combination with their way stronger skills after the Destiny update make this a very solid bossing mule that doesn't require a lot of attention when bossing, as you'll just be walking through most attacks anyway. They'll also have more uses in party play, which could be a plus for getting accepted into any bossing parties later on. They can revive teammates and share their invincibility hyper skill with other party members. Paladins also have their own bind, so you don't have to sacrifice a slot in your V-matrix to get one. Their nodes are super simple, and in combination with their improved damage and additional party support, I think this is a great class for anyone looking for a bossing mule up to Lotus and Damien that doesn't want to work too hard during boss fights. The next representative for the magicians is one that might surprise you. I recommend the Explorer Bishop for low leveling bossing mules. There are plenty of mages to choose from, but I figured this one has the most to offer early on. Fire poison mages, for example, easily outdamage this class but require a lot more nodes and other stats before they really start popping off. Evan requires more funding and his nodes are a lot of work. Kinesis is solid but nothing too crazy compared to the Bishop. I was doubting mostly between Luminous, Ice Lightning Mage and Bishop for this video. Luminous has plenty of damage to dish out, their own bind and invincibility frames, and their teleport is so much better right now after Destiny, but this class just doesn't have as high base stats as the Bishop, and I felt the same way about Ice Lightning Mages. I think both the Ice Lightning Mage and Luminous classes can outdamage the Bishop, but the Bishop has a much easier style of bossing and way more safety compared to those two classes. Bishops have really high base critical rate thanks to the passives on their skills, even higher than some archer classes. This class can heal itself endlessly, cast shields to protect itself or party members from damage. The Destiny update also greatly improved the damage dealt by this class. It's pretty much middle of the pack right now, but combined with all your supportive tools and the skill Infinity, that skill increases your final damage by a ton when it's active, being way more accessible now thanks to the 5th job skill and reliable memory being buffed, this class is a great class to get started on in my opinion. Bishops don't require that much when it comes to legion and link skills, even their IED is pretty okay. They can also use their Angelic Wrath debuff to lower the enemy's defense even more. Enemies hit by this skill will lose an additional 44% of their defense. And your bossing attack heals kills you. So bossing is very safe and doesn't require that much Legion and that many Link skills to start damaging those high level bosses. It might not out damage a lot of classes, but it's a lot easier to start fighting these early game bosses compared to other classes that require more foundation with Legion and Link skills. For the pirates, I was mostly debating between Corsairs and Buccaneers. I'm a Shade main, and I know my main isn't that great without Legion and Links. Thunderbreaker is okay, but not that great either. And classes like Mechanic also require more funding, and the R class has a lot of nodes to optimize. Even though the Corsair is super solid, I did go towards the Buccaneer for this list. Buck stats might not seem that impressive at first glance. I don't even have max critical rate here, but as you can tell, all my attacks do crit. That's because of their stun mastery skill that massively improves your critical rate and also increases your critical damage against stunned monsters. And you inflict the stun status pretty often, I have to say, especially against bosses, and one of their other passives increases their critical rate and critical damage even more when fighting boss monsters. This class is actually a real boss killer. They also have great mobility, passive healing, multiple invincibility frames, and the nodes aren't that hard to set up. Buccaneers can make pretty amazing bosses early on, especially for those looking for less safety compared to the Paladin and Bishop, and for a more active, dodgy playstyle with higher mobility and well-timed skills. Our Thief representative also was a really hard choice. Most Thieves either require more nodes, higher level to unlock more node slots, more Legion and Links, or a combination of everything I just mentioned before they really start to shine. But if I had to pick one Thief class that I think needs the least to get going, that should be the Dual Blade. Similar to the Buccaneer, at first glance the Dual Blade's base stats seem rather unimpressive. In that regard, Dual Blades are a lot like Demon Slayers, where most of their bonus stats come from their attacking skills themselves. Literally all 4th and 5th job skills ignore a portion of the enemy defense or all enemy defense. The IED buff on these skills ranges from 20% additional IED to 100% additional IED on your attacks. And all except one of your 5th job skills have very short cooldowns and are a big part of your bossing rotation. You'll still need ignore defense for boss monsters, but you can already dish out plenty of damage, even though you on paper seem pretty low on that stat. This class also has multiple invincibility frames, passive healing, and they can place down a dummy to distract boss monsters. You'll be managing your short cooldown skills a lot with this class, but they can pack quite a punch even without a lot of Legion and Link skills. This class does have quite a few attacking skills though throughout the job advancement, which does mean that there will be more useless skills in your nodes, but at least there aren't that many skills that you need to boost compared to some of the other Thieves like Hoyoung and Kandena, where it feels like every skill needs love and a place in your V-Matrix. This class does not have its own bind though, so you need to sacrifice one slot in your V-Matrix if you can't live without one. But because of all the short cooldown attacks, I think this class is pretty okay without a bind. And the final class is one of the archers. It was a tough pick between Marksman and Bowmaster, but in the end I did go for Marksman. But no cap, Bowmasters are actually really great bosses with a ton of passive healing, decent base stats, and a very simple playstyle that doesn't require that much. But Marksman in my opinion does the same but better, minus the passive healing that Bowmasters get. The amount of base, ignore defense, and critical rate this class gets is pretty crazy. This class will have no trouble reaching enough IED to deal with early game bosses, and their critical rate is pretty nuts just by itself. Even your critical damage is relatively high. Keep in mind though, I did forget to turn on one of my toggles, so you can add an additional 10% critical damage on top of the numbers showing right now. Marksmen have survivability thanks to their enhanced mobility with a teleporter and traditional jump, a shield that pops out automatically, and they have a long invincibility frame to get out of those tricky situations. Their snipe skill is also made for bossing. It has additional IED on the skill itself and it will always crit, and the enhanced version of the skill leaves a debuff that increases the marksman's final damage and ignore defense even more. They also don't have that many skills, so their nodes are actually super simple. So if you're looking for a 2-minute burst rotation class that feels like a very heavy hitter, then make sure to check out the Marksman. And those are 5 classes that I would pick from my bossing mules. I actually made a Fire Poison Mage bossing mule, but considering I probably won't go past early game anyway, at least not on these guys, I'm kinda sad that I didn't go for Marksman myself. Which other class would you pick for this list? Let me know in the comments. And that was all for today. Make sure to check out Core and Primal World through the links in the video description. Primal World was pretty dope. If you don't like that, you can check out the other games they have. And as always, many thanks to our members making these videos possible. Thanks to Niels de Coninck, Raar maar waar, Sebastian, Hanoy, Ryalias, Terry Kim, Vareese, Mora, Wiley, Historycanon, BackSpaceOTI, Saffronyx, Anwar NHI, Ziggy Flidiot, Knifesu, Chen125, Cloudfix, Gustus Rodriguez, Froggy, Vira, Trevor, Michael Manchaka, Ratius, Justin Vale, Silvio Nato, Stevie Zhang, Afterlord _MS, ceemak, Striker Elk, Tyler1 Pan, Victor Sundstrom, Radical Jaws, Riser RU, Gummy Bullet, Lovebird, 32655, Mathias Simonsson, Mr. Anar, Colando Belavia, PC Game Life, Dante Victory, The Passenger, Martin Panzik, I'm Disappointed, Lucky Beats, Gable Eck, Pedro Benetti, Conrad Castales, Ace Light, Ben Wolf, Max Bernhardt, Doc on a Talkabox, Muka 1017, BNB King, Scotty Flies Fast, Priscilla, Brandon Cam, Shake1, Vague Botnet, Fecco, Gianfranco, Calderon, Canavero, and thank you all for watching. Stay safe and happy mapling!